What's up guys, Storyverse89 here, and today I'm back with another episode of Kerbal Space Program. I know it's been a while, but I'm finally back, and now it is time to do another episode. But unfortunately, as I said in the last episode, Lunar Prep unfortunately has to stop, because my scientist is on another space station. And as you see, it's going to be another 72 days before we can bring him back. Which means we do have one other mission that we can do right now. Which is, I think it's actually visit the Mun with a small lander. Because we haven't really done many probe missions. And I also have a series of contracts that I actually forgot to do, which is early satellite contracts. So a lot of those have been building up over time. So I kinda don't have any of those done, which means I need to start launching some weather satellites. Because yes, my contract is weather and navigation satellites. So we're actually going to start with the navigation satellite, the Walnut satellite, which is this little goofy looking probe core, which we're going to be launching into orbit because why is that disappearing? That's fine. Because I need to get some of these contracts done. And I haven't been doing that. So we are going to launch these using some very, very simple techniques to give us the least amount of money required to launch these. So what I'm building here is, I haven't done this at all in earlier rockets, but this is basically a early kick stage rocket. Now what a kick stage rocket is it's just a very small rocket that has this little solid rocket motor here. And what its purpose is to push it into a slightly higher orbit. So these navigation satellites need to be in a high orbit above Kerbin. I need to find 0.31. Sorry, I just need to look for something real quick. And basically these need to be in a high orbit of Kerbin, and they don't need to be exact. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these special custom engines that are just specifically for kicking this thing into a higher orbit, because that's the contract I need right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a very early navigation satellite design and stick this little thing on here. And we're also going to put the spin motor. And if you don't know what a spin motor is, it basically just keeps satellites that are not capable of SAS. I mean, that's basically what it does, and SAS is just stability assist. So there we go, they have both been fitted with kick motors and spin stabilization. So now we need to pack these little guys into a fairing, which will be this early thin fairing. And I don't think I have anything tall enough for it. Alright, we gotta make it a little taller, which looks a little weird, but this is basically the Trio satellite. And it's the Trio satellite because there are 3 satellites fitted onto this thing. I need to find it. It's the trunk. It's the trunk, the walnut, and the barrel. Now, the trunk is going to actually be pushed significantly higher into orbit than the other ones. So we need to make sure all the staging is correct. So this one goes first. Actually, this one here needs to make sure. Just need to make sure that's not gonna freak out once we actually make it. So, this separation comes here. We're gonna cut this one's thrust limiter down to about 50, just so it's not as intense, because these solid fuel kick engines can be very intense, depending on the kind of probe you have. So there we go. Instead of this one first, we're actually going to do this one. And this one here. So we're gonna go last to first. or, you know, like base to top. This one's not going to be spin stabilized. It's going to be spin stabilized with the walnut. So this one's actually going to separate first. But then it's going to separate this one. I don't know if you can even see this, but basically what's going to happen is it's going to, like, the fairing's going to come off. This section is going to be spin stabilized first. Then this section will decouple and fly off. Then this one will fly off after this one's like thoroughly been shot away from the rocket so we don't accidentally crash into each other. And then the last one, which is the barrel right here, this one will be separated absolutely last. So then we can just ensure that we have proper separation of our payload. And this one, and this one, and this one, separate this. So it comes a little later. Also, already has a separation. Alright, I think that's everything that needs to be packed in here. And then we're going to add this motor here, the Stara. So the reason I'm doing all these early satellites now in the meantime is just because, number one, it's sometimes fun just watching spin-stabilized rockets. They're kind of entertaining to watch. And also, I forgot to do these contracts early on. Like, really early on. So now I have to do them because I forgot. And they're, you know, they need to be done. So we're going to push some fins onto this one. Wait. It needs to be like this. Okay. So we're going to give it some fins so it doesn't freak out. Because I have launched this before. I call it the Stara I-23. It's in another one of my saves. It's a early solid fuel rocket design dedicated to launching early spin stabilized satellites into low or high Kerbin orbits with the assist of a kick stage. Because kick stages are kind of essential for doing some things. And especially early satellites, because it takes a lot to get things in orbit, like more than you would think. So we're going to fit this thing with, I think it's this one? No, it's this one. These special motors, some fins, and we're doing early designs just because I want to show off this cool solid fuel rocket that I made in another save. But there we go. All fairinged up and whatever. It's got more than enough delta V to put our payload into orbit. And now we just need to give it a little launch stand. I usually give it the redstone launch stand only because it looks pretty cool on this one. And like this, pull height is short. And of course you gotta add the pedal cover. Again, another thing not commonly known by like people who are learning about space is that the redstone actually had these little pedal covers here. I think they were just to protect the engine while they were like on the pad, but I don't remember the exact reason why there was the pedal covers. But well, they're there because they look cool, and we're just gonna call this, and that's too many capitals, the Stara I-23. We'll just call it that because we probably won't use it too much in this save, but it's a fun rocket to use. Now we're going to check to make sure the action groups are all thoroughly set. I don't think I can. Well, that sucks. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the launch pad, and if I ever use this rocket again, you won't have to watch the whole build process over. But we'll see what happens. See you guys on the launch pad. And here we are on the pad with our Stara I-23, the first debut of this, way late in the series. Like, this is like a first orbit kind of rocket, but because it took me so long to get to these contracts, Well, we kind of have to do this now, and I have a ton of contracts here too, including aim at the mun and miss, and perform a litho braking maneuver, so I do need to get those done as well. But I'm going to get some of these early satellite contracts out of the way, just so we can, well, move on from those, and move on to lunar contracts, because there's quite a few to do. You do not know how many satellites I'm going to have to launch in between missions. But yeah, this is basically the extent of what this flight's going to look like. I'll see you guys in orbit, and you'll see the use of kick stage and spin stabilization, which ended up with such an early rocket having 11 stages, rather than the average of around 2 or 3 for most of my rockets. But I'll see you in orbit. And welcome to orbit. We finally have made it. And now it's actually time to say bye to that third stage there. This very long nozzled solid fuel rocket. And say bye-bye to SAS as well, because spin stabilization is now required for the walnut to continue its journey. So there we go, we're spinning up the walnut. And there goes the trunk satellite. This one's gonna go first. Activate that. And push us into a higher orbit. A much, much higher orbit than the other satellite. Well, the other satellites. And there we go, the trunk satellite has been pushed into its higher orbit. And now we're going to switch back over to the Stara. I think the walnut? Hopefully it'll push us back to the walnut. And hopefully it didn't get spun too far out of control. Okay, that one's kind of spinning out of control, but that one... Ooh. This one we can still fix because it's still connected to the guidance unit on inside this rocket motor, which means we can still use SAS to keep this thing stable. There we go. We'll keep that one stable while the walnut burns before it runs out of time. Ooh, that was really close to the rocket. This one goes into the shortest of the orbits. Although I think both the guidance units are going to be in the same orbit. Because I think they're both the same, because they both have the same motors. So that means we're going to say bye to the walnut for right now. We'll go back and rename all of them in a little while, but now we need to finish the walnut, or not the walnut, the barrel, which still needs to decouple. And there we go, say bye to that third stage. And SAS, spin stabilization spins us up. And kick. A little bit higher and a little bit off of a different... I think we actually went a little higher than the walnut. Extend those antennas. And there we have it. The barrel, the walnut, and the trunk have all reached orbit on the same flight. You can see the walnut over there. We're going to fly past it. I think the trunk will still remain as the fastest. It's already over the... Or wait, no, it's the Bumblebee. So now we're going to rename all of them. So we're going to call this one... We're going to call this Navsat 1. Because they assist in Kerbals with their GPS navigation. So after all, what are these satellites for otherwise? They don't actually do anything, I just like to say that. But that's basically it for this mission, so I'll see you guys back at the Space Center for the rest of it, because this is me just renaming satellites. So I'll see you back at the Space Center. And welcome back to the Space Center after that rather eventful launch with a little bit of that flipping during the early time. And as you see, we're finally almost to basic science. Took us a while, but we're finally almost there. We might even be able to... Never mind, we don't have any... don't have any of that to take. Although, I did realize that I had enough money to get a Kerbal. More than enough, actually. So I'm just gonna get a new scientist so we can go along with Lunar Prep, which means Lunar Prep is back on. Unfortunately, I forgot what I was doing with Lunar Prep. Kind of a problem if you forget what you're doing, so... Luckily, I vaguely remember what the mission was, and I'm pretty sure it was a Gemini that was going to go meet up with it in orbit, or... Was it the Corvus? I think it was the Corvus capsule. But that means we gotta build a new rocket to go visit our orbiting lander, because I think we already had the lander there. Anyway. Now we gotta get the parachute, so we need the Leo parts. Leo... Yep, fits. It looks a little weirdly colored, but it's fine. It's not that bad. It's just aesthetically a little weird. Anyway, alright, so now we need to put this thing together, so we're going to go to the Corvus, the adapter shroud, which we'll actually put on last. We're going to put the Corvus decoupler this time. I'm not going to forget to add that this time. And the maneuvering unit, there it is. Orbital attitude system. The other decoupler, or actually, wait, no, I think the shroud has it. Another decoupler. And this holds 4 days with max crew, which is more than enough for us to arrive at the waiting point. Now, I know I said 1 Kerbal originally, but I feel like I could probably stretch and get 2. So I'll bring a pilot as well. Of course, we're going to have the lower stage, and you've seen the rest of the Titan construction, so I'll see you on the launch pad. And welcome back to the launch pad with the rather fancy looking red Titan 3, which I'm pretty sure never ended up being in use, because I don't remember ever seeing a red Titan 3. But nevertheless, here we are, preparing for our lunar voyage, as I got my new scientist in the Corvus capsule along with our fairly experienced Valentina Kerman, who was on the orbit around the Mun. You can see in the log down there, it says what she did. She's been to orbit around the Mun and orbit around Kerbin, while our scientist has done nothing. This is her first mission. So, it's time to ignite those engines and lift off of the Corvus 2. I never thought I'd be bringing this model back into use, but here we are. So, basically, all this mission's going to do is dock with our station. We aren't going to do the landing this episode. Definitely next episode, though, because once everything's all docked together, I have to be rather swift about it. With the dwindling life support supplies, I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think we're going to have something like 40-ish days, which is pretty good to do some on-orbit science, but I think we're just going to probably be quick about it. And I think that's probably all I need to say about this landing, so I'll stop taking up your time, and I will see you in orbit. And welcome to orbit, the dark side of Kerbin, with our Corvus crew now ready for their mission. Because, well, it's time to head to the Mun. So, basically, they're going to be spending probably a while at the Mun. And it's gonna be a pretty interesting mission. I think the lander we sent has more than enough, but I guess if it doesn't... Wait, does it have enough? I don't actually remember if it has enough. That might be a bit of a problem. I think I remember saying something about how it had to piggyback on another rocket stage, but I don't remember if that actually came to fruition or not. I really hope not, because if so, that's not good. That means we're gonna have to wait even longer in orbit. And yeah, cool. That means we're gonna have to wait longer. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. I don't remember if it did. I forgot the advanced star tracker again. I keep forgetting the star tracker. I mean, on the bright side, this thing turns really quickly, so I guess it's not that bad, but... Alright, well... I don't remember if it actually has enough delta V to make it to the surface, because it's on average you want about 1,000 meters, maybe a little more. So I don't actually remember if the Lepus lander, or whatever I called it, had enough delta V to make it. Before I do a lunar landing, I am guaranteed going to check that, but I don't remember. Whatever. Right now, we're going to focus on the task at hand, which is getting our crew to the actual checkpoint. And, yeah, we gotta actually do that. Now, we've already done all the science on the way to the Mun and in orbit of the Mun, so there's not really any extras we can grab from that. But we do have to finish this little orbital maneuver. Unfortunately, of course, this is the very not accurate engine, which is kind of bad for our crew, because, you know, that's kind of hard to do. Whatever, I'll be able to manage it. This is probably going to take quite a bit of maneuver nodes, so I'll just see you in orbit or docked with the vessel. And hopefully we won't have problems with that. Yeah, okay, I'll see you there. And welcome to lunar orbit. It took quite a long time for me to get here. I finally did it though, and I just cut out all that because it took way too long. I actually had to stop recording. That's how long it took. So, I'm finally here though. Oh boy. So we're going to dock this thing together now. And then I think we'll end the episode there, because we've already been going for a while of usable recording. But at least they're here. You know, we got the... See the stage floating over there. I actually managed to use that stage for quite a while. I was actually surprised at how long I was able to keep it. But I think that was the majority of how long it took, is just because I was using a very inaccurate stage. So I had to constantly be readjusting my orbit. Just constant over and over again, which I think is what took so long. But we are here. Did I mess up the indexing key? Yes, I did. But there we go. The Corvus is made into orbit with 82 days, even more time than the other one. So we're going to put Virgie over there. Valentina in here. And now we're going to check this stage real quick. We're going to undock it just to make sure that... Oh, no, I didn't want to retract that. Now we are going to undock it and just double check how much fuel this thing has. Yeah, that's nowhere near enough to make it to the surface. So that means little Virgie will have to wait a while before we actually send her on her way to the surface. That means we need a Titan second stage with a docking port, not this one over here, to assist with this mission. I was hoping it wouldn't come to that, but I guess it did. Not the worst thing in the world, just means I need to do a little bit more, but I think we're gonna call it there. Thanks for watching this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sorry for taking so long to make an episode, but I will prioritize in the future to make more episodes, and I'll try and release one, like one every other day. So record one, edit it, and then release it. So, but thank you for being patient, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Yep. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.